Have you ever watched someone's name get dragged through the mud so fast that, before the truth even had a chance to put its shoes on, the whole world had already picked a side? Before we begin, I want to ask you something from the heart. If you believe truth matters, if you believe people should not be destroyed by rumors alone, and if you believe we need more honesty and less chaos in this world, then stay with me until the end. Listen with an open mind. Think deeply. And most of all, remember this: not everything repeated loudly is true. Because sometimes the most dangerous thing in the room is not a weapon. It is a story. And once a story catches fire, it can burn through reputations, friendships, careers, and even the way people remember a person forever. Today's story is not just about fame. It is not just about celebrity gossip. And it is definitely not just about who said what. It is about power. It is about public opinion. It is about what happens when accusations become entertainment. And it is about the thin line between asking questions and destroying someone with no proof. So let's talk about it. Because right now, the internet feels like a courtroom with no judge, no rules, and no ending. One person speaks. Another person reacts. A clip goes viral. A headline appears. A crowd gathers. And suddenly, millions of people are watching a battle they do not fully understand. That is the world we are living in. A world where people no longer wait for facts. They wait for drama. And when drama arrives, people do not just watch it. They feed it. They share it. They grow it. They turn it into theories, sides, teams, and wars. In the middle of all this noise, one of the biggest names on earth is being pulled into a tornado of online talk, old rumors, bold accusations, and non-stop speculation. And the big question hanging in the air is this: what happens when a person who has stayed quiet for so long finally decides they may have had enough? That is where this story gets heavy. Because silence can mean many things. Sometimes silence means peace. Sometimes silence means wisdom. Sometimes silence means, I will not lower myself to every attack. But sometimes silence is mistaken for weakness. And that is when people grow bolder. They say more. They push harder. They cross more lines. They become more reckless. And before you know it, the conversation is no longer about facts. It becomes about shock. That is what makes moments like this so intense. Not just because famous names are involved, but because the internet has a way of turning suspicion into certainty, and turning maybe into definitely overnight. And that should scare all of us. Because today it is a celebrity. Tomorrow it could be anyone. A neighbor, a teacher, a friend, a family member, maybe even you. That is why this story matters more than people think. Now let's slow down and really look at what is happening here. For years, loud voices online have thrown out claims, hints, stories, and dark suggestions about powerful people in music and entertainment. Some people laughed those claims off. Some ignored them. Some treated them like wild noise. But as more public scandals began exploding around the industry, something shifted. People started going back, rewatching old interviews, replaying old statements, digging up old clips, questioning old friendships, connecting dots, whether the dots truly connected or not. And once that started, the mood changed. Suddenly, things many people once dismissed as nonsense became fuel for a bigger fire. Now here is where we need to be careful. Because there is a huge difference between saying, "This deserves a closer look," and saying, "This must be true." That difference matters a lot. But sadly, the internet is not good at protecting that difference. The internet loves mystery, but it loves blame even more. And when a global superstar is involved, the attention multiplies by 1,000. Every word becomes a headline. Every silence becomes suspicious. Every legal move becomes a warning. Every rumor becomes a possible, hidden truth. And every reaction becomes content. That is not justice. That is spectacle. And spectacle is addictive. People love feeling like they are uncovering something secret. They love believing they are seeing what others missed. They love the thrill of saying, "I knew something was off." But the truth does not grow just because a rumor gets more views. Let that sink in. Views are not proof. Viral clips are not evidence. Confidence is not truth. And repetition is not confirmation. Still, when accusations keep coming, louder and louder, a public figure faces a painful choice. Do they stay silent and risk people saying, "See, they're not denying it"? Or do they respond and risk making the situation even bigger? That is a trap. And it is one many public figures know too well. Because once something explosive is said in public, there is no easy way to put it back in the box. Even if the words are challenged, even if platforms walk them back, even if apologies are made, even if clips are edited, even if lawyers get involved, the stain remains. Why? Because people rarely remember corrections with the same energy they remember accusations. A lie can run across the whole world. The truth often arrives tired, late, and ignored. That is why moments like this become so emotional. Not just for the people involved,
That's just the way the world was set up.
but for
It's
everyone
just like
watching.
the things that we owe.
Some people feel angry. Some feel suspicious. Some feel protective. Some feel confused. And many are just overwhelmed because they do not know what is real anymore.
So it wasn't
And
based
honestly,
on,
that may be the saddest
I
part of
have
all.
to say something because of this.
We are
out. It
living
wasn't
in a
even-
time where trust is broken so easily that people are ready to believe almost anything, especially if the story is dramatic enough. That does not mean every accusation should be dismissed. Far from it. Real victims
That's
deserve
not
to
the
be
goal.
heard.
The goal is if
Real
you have a
wrongdoing
specific
must be taken
God-given ability.
seriously. Real abuse should never be hidden behind fame, wealth, or influence. That matters deeply. But taking serious claims seriously
Regrets
also
on
means
the
not
last
turning
song
them
on my
into
first
casual
album.
internet entertainment.
You know, that was a real topic.
It means
like that. It's just
respecting
really
truth
honest.
enough
You
to
probably
separate
couldn't have gotten
evidence from
away with-
emotion.
Okay,
It
you do
means
that.
understanding that
Right.
justice is not gossip. It means remembering that saying something shocking is not the same as proving it. And when that line gets blurred, everyone loses. The accused lose peace. The public loses clarity. Real victims lose seriousness. And truth loses its place at the
Like-
center.
like
Now
a,
think about the emotional weight of that.
you know, like a peacock.
Imagine
Switch
waking
the
up
ear.
and seeing your name
500,000,
tied to
go buy some
terrifying
albums and
stories,
listen to the albums.
explosive
It's all
theories,
there.
and
If
endless
you-
commentary. All while millions of strangers
We're
debate
o-
your character
We're able
like
to
it is a
overcome
game.
and where we sit now.
Some
today.
people would break.
You know, and as far as like
Some would
you know,
rage.
success, I
Some
just
would
look
run
at it,
to the cameras. Some would shut down completely. So when a person or their team responds strongly, it should not surprise
in his
anyone.
wings, like you know, we
Because
made
at
it,
some
like,
point,
so the
reputation
transition
becomes
has
survival.
happened. He gave
And
me
in
my
the age
bravado.
of digital chaos,
You know, I'm like,
protecting your name is not vanity. It is defense. That is why legal pressure, public denials, and media pullbacks create such huge waves. The moment powerful legal voices enter the room, people start asking different questions. Wait, did someone go too far? Was this line crossed? Will there be consequences? Was this just talk, or something that could become a real courtroom battle? And that is where public curiosity turns into suspense. But let me tell you something important. A possible lawsuit is not just about anger. Sometimes it is about drawing a line. A line that says, you can criticize me. You can question me. You can dislike me, but you cannot say absolutely anything you
26, so
want and
politics
expect
as
there to be
usual.
no cost.
And those songs really
That
dealt
is a
with
message
regrets on my-
many
on-
people understand. At the same time, some people wonder why more legal action does not happen immediately in cases like this. And the answer may be more complicated than it looks. Because once lawyers step in, the story changes. A courtroom is different from the internet. Online, people throw words around. In court, words must stand up. Online, people guess. In court, people must prove. Online, chaos spreads fast. In court, details slow everything down. And sometimes, the deeper things go, the riskier it becomes for everyone involved. That is why public fights like this can become so tense.
You know what I'm
Not
saying?
because
Like,
people
you know,
love
you
truth,
stole it away.
but because
Where
they
it made
fear
a way,
what
so-
truth or the hunt for it might uncover. And that fear creates silence,
To
strategy,
live your
and
life
waiting.
out through that.
So people
One.
watch.
And two,
They
we have
speculate.
responsibility.
They read into every move. And they ask the same question again and again. What happens next? But maybe
Even-
the better
even in those-
question is, what should happen next? Should
song,
more people
I just
make
look at
louder
it,
claims?
All the people that I was
Should
inspired by,
creators
like
keep
Muhammad
turning
Ali was
serious
like,
accusations into dramatic content? Should platforms keep rewarding the most explosive version of every story? Should audiences keep treating human lives like plot twists in a show? Or should we all slow down? Should we become wiser than the machine that profits from outrage? Because make no mistake,
To push the
outrage is
conversation
profitable.
till we're all equal on
The
this
internet
place. Because
loves
until
fear.
everyone's free, no,
Have an
It
album
loves
to come out
scandal.
that would be
about some
about
frivolous
It
together.
loves you won't believe
And
this.
Muhammad
It
Ali was like,
loves
I'm
the
so
truth they
pretty.
tried to
I'm
hide.
the greatest, and like people
It
paid to
loves
see him
this
lose.
changes everything. And maybe sometimes, yes, hidden truths do come out. But many times, what spreads first is not truth. It is adrenaline. That is why the smartest thing a viewer can do today is not pick a side
That's
too
really
fast.
not the goal. The goal
It
is
is to
not to be
breathe,
successful and famous.
To think, to ask, what is confirmed? What is assumption? What is being exaggerated? What is being edited for drama? Who benefits from keeping this fire burning? And what happens if this story is wrong? Those questions are
That's
powerful.
what was drawing his fights. Like
Those
people come in there
questions
to see
protect
him
people.
lose because he was so
Those questions
confident.
protect truth. And honestly, we need more of them. Because children are growing up in a world where rumor looks like reporting, confidence looks like credibility, and virality looks like validation. That is dangerous. A child should be able to understand something simple. Just because many people are saying something does not make it true. That lesson alone could save lives, relationships, and futures. And maybe that is why this story hits so hard. It is bigger than celebrity culture. It reflects us. It shows us how quickly we judge, how easily we assume, how much we enjoy being shocked, and how rarely we stop to ask whether we are helping truth or hurting it. Now let's talk about silence one more time. Because people often
No
misunderstand
one's free. And
quiet
that's
people.
just,
Right.
that's just,
Well,
yeah,
Sometimes the
You
person
guys
saying
like-
the least is not
It's
powerless. Sometimes
almost
they are
like-
just careful.
like-
Sometimes they know that one wrong move can make the storm worse.
yeah.
Sometimes
her-
they know that arguing with chaos
Her
only
truth
feeds
with the
chaos.
world. So it wasn't
And
based.
That's just the
sometimes
way
they
the
are
world was
waiting
set
for
up.
the right
But
place,
just like the
the
things that
right
we
time, and the right method to answer. That may not be satisfying to the public. But truth is not here to entertain the public. Truth does not owe us drama. Truth does not move at the speed of trending topics.
So it wasn't based
Truth
on.
is often slower,
I have
quieter,
to say
and harder
something
to
because
hold.
of this out. It wasn't even.
Still, when emotions are high, people do not want patience. They want a villain. They want a hero. They want a winner. They want an ending. But real life rarely gives us clean endings. It gives
That's
us
not
fragments.
the goal. The goal is
It
if
gives
you
us
have a
pressure.
specific God-given ability.
It gives us pain. It gives us people trying to protect themselves in real time. And that is why I think the real lesson here is not about who shouted loudest.
regrets.
It is
on
about
the last
responsibility.
song on my first album.
The responsibility of
those are
speakers
real
to be
topics.
careful.
Like that. It's just really
The
honest.
responsibility of
couldn't have gotten away
platforms to
with.
be fair.
Okay, you do
The
that.
responsibility
Sorry,
of
what
audiences to think. And the responsibility of all of us to remember that a person's name is not a toy. Words matter. They can warn. They can expose. They can protect. But they can also wound, mislead, and destroy. That is why we should never become careless with them.
Like
So if you are listening to this and feeling pulled in every direction, here is the message I want to leave in your heart.
Listen to the albums.
Do not let noise replace judgment. Do not let gossip become your truth. Do not let drama trick you into forgetting humanity.
And as far as
And do not let the
success,
internet train you to enjoy the downfall of people before you even know what is real. Be wiser than that. Be calmer than that. Be stronger than that.
we made it.
Because the world
so
already
the transition
has enough shouting.
has happened.
What it needs now is discernment.
I'm like,
And maybe, just maybe, that is the real turning point in stories like this. Not whether someone gets sued. Not whether another interview drops. Not whether another clip goes viral. But whether we, the audience, finally grow up enough to stop feeding every fire we see. Because every click is a choice. Every share is a choice. Every comment is a choice. Every assumption is a choice. And one day, those choices shape the kind of culture we live in. Do we want a culture built on truth, patience, and fairness? Or one built on rumor, frenzy, and destruction? That choice is not only in the hands of celebrities, lawyers, or media hosts. It is in ours too. So before this story becomes just another online storm, let it teach us something real.
Politics as usual.
Let it
And those
remind
songs
us
really
that
dealt
fame
with
does not
regrets on
cancel
my-
human dignity. Let it remind us that accusations are serious, not entertainment. Let it remind us that silence is not always guilt. Let it remind us that truth deserves more respect than trends. And let it remind us that once words are released into the world, they do not come back the same. That is why we must use them carefully. Now, if this message spoke to you, do not just scroll away. Pause for a second. Ask yourself what kind of voice you want to be in this world. One that spreads heat, or one that brings light. One that follows every rumor, or one that stands with truth, wisdom, and patience. If you made it this far,
you stole
thank you for listening with
Where-
both your ears and your heart. And here is my final thought. In times of noise,
to
be
live your life
careful.
out through that.
In times of scandal,
One.
be thoughtful.
And two, we have
In
responsibility.
times of accusation, be fair. And in times when everyone rushes to judge, have the courage to slow down. Because truth still matters.
Even in those
Character still matters. And how we respond to
songs,
stories
I
like
just
this
look at it like
says a
all the
lot
people
about
that
who
I
we
was
are
inspired
becoming.
by, like Muhammad Ali.
If you
was like,
believe we need more truth and less chaos, more wisdom and less blind outrage, then support this message. Leave your thoughts below. Share this with someone who values honesty. And stay close for more stories that do not just chase noise, but search for meaning. Until next time, protect your mind,
to push
guard
the
your
conversation
words, and
until
never
we're all
forget.
equal on this place.
The
because
loudest
until
story
everyone's
is
free
not
to
always
Have an
the
album to
truest
come out
one.
that would be
about
about